Welcome into the DFS Jags PGA Fantasy Golf Show. I'm your host, Tony Altieri, and with me on the line, as always, the master of pain-free dentistry, but not the master of pain-free Will Zalatoris second places, Riku Mukherjee. Rick, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. It was a very, 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 very painful Saturday. Just watching everything unfold live in person, having my friends constantly text me and telling me what's going on with Rom and Luke List and everyone else ahead of me was very a slow and painful death.
You know, it was interesting because I was there on Wednesday. You were there on Saturday. So we were both at the tournament this week because it's local for both of us. And it was funny because watching the broadcast, it was like watching Will Zalatoris, like watching the live strokes gain metric play out in front of me. It was like hit a fairway, stick a green, miss a 6-footer, miss a 10-footer, miss a 12-footer, and tap
Yeah.
in for par. I mean, it was painful because I didn't have a dog in the hunt. It ended up being a decent week for me because I hit a number of like top 20s and top 10s. I hit Day, I hit Rose. I mean, I had a good week from what I would call the prop betting perspective. DraftKings was an absolute abortion, but I knew you had the Zalatoris ticket, so I was like, I'm pulling for Will Z. Will Z. But there was this part of me that was like, because we had this text string, you, me, and Mike going back and forth during the course of the day, that was also kind of rooting for Luke List. Like he's been a guy that we talk about. He's been an industry guy. He's a statistical maven. And it was like I was pulling a little bit for Luke, but I obviously wanted you to win because you had the ticket.
Yeah. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I was heavy on Luke List in DraftKings. He was in my main lineup. I was really high on him. Just for some reason, I just didn't click on his name in the betting market. I was more into the likes of like Sung Jae and Will Z and Finau and stuff like that, and then some bombs. But I never got to that mid range of like 60 to 80 odds of anyone last week. So I missed out on the Luke List ticket. He was in my main lineup, so I was really rooting for him to finish second behind Will Z. But unfortunately, I was following Will Z around the whole day, and when he was on, I believe 13 or 14, that's when Luke List was finishing up on 18, and my friends were texting me and said that he's in the rough on 18. He's in the rough on his second shot on 18. And then they told me he hit it to like 11 feet, 10, 11 feet or whatever. I'm like, there's no way in hell Luke List is making this putt. I mean, my fear the whole day was like, tell me what John Rahm is doing. Tell me what John
Yeah.
Rahm is doing, because that's the guy that I fear in this situation, not Luke List. And then they told me Luke List drains this 10-foot putt on 18 to get to minus 15. And I'm just like, surely Willsy will find a way to get to minus 16 in this situation. So it just didn't happen. He went to a playoff. And then me and Rick Gaiman and Andy Lack were standing at the 18th green during when they were teeing off. And I didn't have good phone service. So I was actually watching the streaming broadcast on Rick's phone. And I saw that they had both got into the bunker like within like a foot of each other. So I was like, okay, what's gonna happen now? And then they both like pitched out to like reasonable distances, and Lucas just stuffed his third and made birdie, and Willsey just couldn't make a putt all day.
Yeah, it was painful as a guy who was watching, knowing what you had with the winner. Obviously, DraftKings worked, and in some respects, the chalk really performed this week at Torrey Pines outside of Tony Finau. I mean, he
Yep.
was the most notable miscut. He took down 35% of the field in most DraftKings tournaments this last week. But all the other chalk guys, List, Day, the guys that play well at Torrey Pines each and every year, they showed up again. And through the first two legs of what we call the California swing, we still got two left in Pebble this week, and obviously Riviera here in a couple weeks. But course history on the California courses this year, if you look at the guys who play well at these courses historically, those have been the guys that have been peppering the leaderboard and making cuts. Obviously, Finau, like we talked about, he hasn't been that guy yet. A lot of us thought he had turned a corner after he won the Northern Trust last year, but he's yet to kind of figure it out this year. And I'm curious, kind of how things transition for him as we get into Waste Management and Riviera. And obviously, he's not here at Pebble because nobody's here at Pebble except for Cantlay. But getting back to the Farmers a little bit, It is always one of my favorite tournaments. It's a course that
Mhm.
you and I have played before. You know, you mentioned Rick Gaiman and Andy Lack. I was supposed to play at Madeiras with Andy and Rob, DFS Rob, on Saturday. I got invited to play it, but I couldn't make it.
Yeah.
You know, it's really cool because there's a number of folks in and around the community and that are kind of all in the local area of Southern California. You know, Rick's from this area, obviously lives in Vegas now, but the Farmers is a tournament where we run into a lot of guys that we know,
Yeah.
and it's just there's a lot of good vibes there. It never fails to deliver. It's always a great tournament. And like you, I was watching the live betting odds all day, thinking I'm going to click somebody, but I'm like, why am I going to click anyone? Because Rom's just going to win this thing. Like he's
Yeah.
going to win it. And Will Z never fell out of the lead, so I could never click his name. I never got a decent odd on him. Where I made the mistake was I had an opportunity when List, I think he bogeyed 16 or 17.
17,
And
yeah.
yeah, and his odds dropped all the way to like 9, 10 to 1.
Yeah.
And I was this close to clicking it, and I thought Luke List is not winning the Farmers over John Ronald or Zalatoris. It's not going to happen.
He was
That's not
actually
my bet.
he was actually 9 to 1 still when he was in the rough on his third shot on 18. So his odds didn't drop down to like 4 or 5 to 1 until he actually made birdie. So
Yeah.
you had a solid like
Oh,
10, 15, 20 minutes to get in on Luke List at 9 to 1, where in a situation where 18 is a birdieable hole for someone as long as him, it's a good spot to be in for him, where that the leaders behind him, Rom and Zalatoris, that they have tough holes to play. So that was
yep.
a good spot. My buddy that was texting me, he was like, "Man, if I was like he's in Maryland, so he doesn't have like access to like an online book or whatever. But he was like, if I was at the casino right now and I could go place a wager on Luke List right now, I would. But it just didn't like register in my head just because I was like sure that Will Z was somehow going to get to -16 and win the tournament.
Yeah, he just kept hovering at 15 all day. It was like he was stuck there and couldn't get past the number.
It's
But
It's
he,
weird because, like, he looks so comfortable and
yeah,
good over any putt that's, like, over, like, 12 feet or, like, 10 feet, and then,
yep.
like, inside 10 feet just looks so shaky. I just feel like he's never gonna make a putt.
The one that he missed on 18 for the birdie was heartbreaking. Watching it happen on TV, and obviously everybody's seen the replays. It looked good for 98% of the putt, and then right at the hole, it just made this little left turn. And I mean,
Yeah.
it was devastating
Yeah, I
because you
saw it.
could see it. Like it was like it took everything he had because he had not hit a putt all day, and that point in time just personified his entire round on Sunday.
Yeah, I actually I rewatched the broadcast last night on Golf Channel from the final round, mainly just because I was just trying to find myself on TV because I knew where I was like all the time, and I caught a glimpse of myself a couple of times, and it was cool to
Yeah.
watch. But yeah, that last putt was brutal. He says he thought it was going to go right, and it just turned left at the end. It was the same exact putt that Rom had on 18 that he missed going left. So
Yep.
it's a tough putt to read. Congratulations to Luke List. I know Pat Mayo had a big ticket on him.
Yeah.
That's his boy. So I'm just congratulations to him. And we'll see where it goes for him. I mean he's not a young buck anymore. He's 37 years old getting his first win on tour. So I mean we know what Luke List is. He's great off the tee. He's great tee to green. Just can't putt. So we'll see if he improved his putting enough to win a couple more times.
Yep. Yeah, he's all the best to him and all the folks that had tickets on him. Everybody that played him in DraftKings, he was definitely the best play, even though he's one of the chalkiest guys. But
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. Chalk has shown up week in and week out here through the start of the season. So we always talk about game theory and trying to get ownership. But if you have a guy and you're like, this guy is going to be in my lineup, screw what the statistics say about Chalk. Like, if you want him and you think he's going to be one of the guys down the stretch and you need him in your lineup to keep pace with everybody else, play the Chalk because Chalk is showing up and winning right now.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, let's jump into this week, a much different tournament than what we had last week. Pebble Beach is a Pro-Am, so similar to Amex, where we've got amateurs paired with pros, and we've got 3 different courses this week, just like the Amex. Last year, this course, because of COVID, the tournament was shrunk down to just 2. So I think it was Spyglass and Pebble. Monterey Peninsula got punted last year, but all 3 are back, and we've got all the B-list celebrities doing all the dumb crap that they do on the course, trying not to implode a tour star's chance to win a golf tournament. But the course is a complete departure from what we saw at the Farmers last week. Pebble Beach is the main course. It's short. It's a par 72. Monterey Peninsula is a 71. Spyglass is a 72. All are around 7,000 yards. They are true POA greens. Last year's champion is our boy Daniel Berger. He is back again this year. And the key stats for me this week that I've implemented and put into my model, which I weighted very heavily, and every one of the guys that you'll see here has a ranking next to him for overall statistically, tournament history, and of course, recent form. Those key stats are factored into my stat model. For me, it's approach this week. Berger led the field in approach the last year when he won. Par fours, a number of shorter par fours and scoring opportunities on those holes will be key. Strokes game, short game. We saw it when Woodland won the U.S. Open here. Like, your ability to hit shots in and around greens are very important, especially at Pebble Beach. And then, of course, key proximity, about 100 to 125 yards. We're talking about a wedge, but guys who can stick it close and give themselves short birdie putts, that's going to be the key to victory. Typically this is a 17, 18, 19, 21 under course. And I think we're going to see it play out the same way unless we have wind. Right now, the forecast isn't calling for any kind of crazy wind or weather over the course of the 4 days. But that is always a factor because all three of these courses are up there right on the bay in the Bay Area. So, Pebble can play tough if there's wind and weather.
Yeah. It's a short course, Pebble itself. And when it's not in US Open, even when we saw it at the US Open when Gary Woodland won a few years ago, I think he got to like -12 or -13 to win the tournament. So,
yeah.
I mean, this is not the most difficult course in the world. I mean, the pros eat it alive. We saw Phil Mickelson win here a couple of years ago, so we know it's a short course. We know that the only defense it really has is the wind because it's on wind and weather, I guess, rain or whatever, because it's on the coast like that. But yeah, we've seen an array of victors here before. We've seen anyone from the chalk favorites to win to Ted Potter Jr. at 600 to 1 win this tournament. So it's one of those
DJ that year.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where it's like I feel more comfortable, betting long shots a week like this week just because we've had so many long shot winners at this tournament. But then on top of that, we've also had Spieth and DJ and Jason Day win at chalk odds. So it's kind of like pick of your litter this week.
Yeah, the typical area where I like to pepper the board, I know it's one of the areas where you like to kind of live, is that kind of 30 to 70, like guys in those range. And we see it over and over again that winners come from that area. Guys get breakthrough wins. It's just you get those guys in these events and you get great odds. And we see that there's a high percentage of winners coming in from that area. And to your point, this tournament is kind of an outlier when you look at like the last 10 years. You've got guys at the top of the board at very low odds, below 25 to 1 that have won, and guys from beyond 100. And that area that we love to bet from 30 all the way up to like 80, 90 has basically been barren from winners for over a decade. So it'll be interesting as we get into the top of the board here. From a DraftKings perspective, there are only 3 names, even though you're seeing 4. Will Zalatoris has withdrawn from this tournament. So make sure you've got Will Z pulled out of your lineups. There are 3 guys here: Patrick Cantlay, Daniel Berger, and Jordan Spieth. All 3 of them have immaculate course history. 2 of the 3 are coming into the course with immaculate form. And statistically, 2 of the 3 rate out very, very well. The third one is Jordan Spieth. So I guess the question is, to Spieth or not to Spieth this week? Do you take the course history and you just say, hey, he plays well here, he plays well at Augusta, he plays well at Valero, and you just ride him in those tournaments? Or do you go back to Berger, the defending champ, or Patrick Cantlay, who I just feel like is going to win a bunch of tournaments this year?
Well, first of all, do you think Will Z just withdrew from this tournament just because he's so sad from last week?
I don't know, man. I had no idea until I was going back and looking.
Yeah, I found out today too. Yeah.
Yeah, and that he had withdrawn, but I think it may just have to do with scheduling.
Maybe. Yeah.
The dude went through a mental ringer at Farmers on Saturday, so I mean, it could just be that he threw the towel in and said, "Look, I need a week off to recoup from what happened." But
which kind of sucks because I actually really liked him at this tournament because I feel
Well,
like
yeah,
it
to your
really,
point of the four guys in that were above $10,000, like you're going to have some people that'll take Patrick Cantlay, you're going to have people that are going to ride Berger, and people that are going to take Spieth. And
yeah,
Will was kind of the odd man out in that scenario. I mean, obviously playing in great form. Statistically, he rates off the charts. He just hasn't had great success here, and so you
yeah.
would figure that ownership would kind of gravitate between the other three. So he felt like a great place to land.
Yeah. And now with him withdrawing, it looks like all the ownership has funneled to Patrick Cantlay and Daniel Berger in this
Hmm.
situation. Jordan Spieth is the major pivot in the above 10K range. Um, I mean, in all honesty, Tony, like I can't get away from Cantlay in the situation. He's so good. He's unbelievable tee to green. He has great course history here. He's pretty much done everything besides win this tournament. He's playing outstanding recently. There's just no reason to fade Patrick Cantlay. I can't get there with Jordan this week. He has been playing awful. Just his form is just so bad. Even though he has such good course history here, I just don't trust him at the moment. He had to go to the hospital after the first round last week because of stomach cramps.
Yep.
So I'm definitely out on Jordan Spieth. Now the wild card for me here is Daniel Berger, just because I don't know, man. He I rewatched the broadcast from last night from Farmers on yet last night, and the guy was like looked like he was in like legit pain, like on his back. Like I don't know if you noticed that or not, but like for the first few holes, he was swinging and grabbing his back like after every swing. I mean, he wasn't. I watched, and I didn't watch. I read about his presser today. He wasn't asked about it, nor did he bring it up. So I'm assuming since he hasn't withdrawn, he's good to go. But if he's full health, he's a great play here. I mean, he's a defending champ. He fits this course perfectly. But if I'm going to, I can't pick Cantlay and Berger in this situation just because they're both chalky. So my money is just to go towards Cantlay than Berger in the situation. It's tough to defend as defending champion, and these cold mornings in Northern California just might cause his back to act up a little bit. So I'm out on Spieth, I'm out on Berger, and I think I'm all in on Cantlay at the top of this board.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with all the logic on Cantlay. We talked about the metric-based way that he plays. He's just the guy is a machine. And when he has those weeks where he putts, he just misses nothing. He came out, blitzed the field the first day at Amex last year in this tournament. I think he shot like 10 under the first day. So, he continually just shows up and performs. And he turned a major corner last year and becoming that next level of elite type player. I like Berger a lot in this spot from a DraftKings perspective. And the only reason why is he has a tendency to win. We saw him win at the St. Jude multiple times at the same course. So he's a guy who feels comfortable. And when he likes certain tracks, he plays well there. I had not seen all of the injury things that you had mentioned with how he had played on Saturday at the Farmers.
I mean,
So
it was just for the first like 5 or 6 holes, and then he still went out and shot 2 under on Saturday. So it's not like it really affected his play, but it does worry me a little bit. I don't know.
Sure. Well, when you have those kinds of things that you have to think through when you're talking about a guy who's going to occupy over $10,000 worth of salary, you've got to make some decisions. So I can see the logic behind Cantlay. I really like Berger a lot this week. And for Spieth is not a DraftKings play for this week, but he absolutely will be on my betting card. And I just last year coming into this tournament, he had basically been, god awful. Was terrible at the Farmers, always plays terrible at the Farmers. I don't know why he plays that event. He should not play it. Doesn't suit him,
Yeah.
whatever. But then he flipped a switch here and basically made every single cut that he possibly did until the Farmers last week. So, this is a comfort spot for him. It's a style of play that suits what he does and mitigates, how errant he is off the tee. So I do think Spieth is alive from the betting odds perspective. I just don't have the stones to invest $10,000 on DraftKings because he could just implode and be the Jordan Spieth that he's been the last
Was
year and a half.
was the final group last year? Was it Berger and Spieth?
I believe so.
I know,
You'll have to check me on that.
I know. Nate Lashley was in there somewhere. I think he was in the final group too. But
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think those three guys were in the final and the penultimate group at least coming
Yeah.
down the stretch
Right.
because I know Berger, on 18 he absolutely hit a bomb and then he stuffed one and so it was like he played immaculate, but he won the tournament. But I think Spieth kind of imploded down the stretch on Sunday, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I don't really remember. I just remember Berger taking home the trophy.
Yep, absolutely. Dropping down into the next tier, the 9,000s, we've got a lot of interesting names. A lot of folks we saw last week at Farmers. We've got a new one in Matthew Fitzpatrick, who we haven't seen over here on the PGA Tour this year. But some interesting names. Streelman always plays well here. Kisner, you think about the style of play that he has, it's a course fit. Jason Day, again, this guy, even when he's played absolutely terrible, he is a top 5 machine at this course. Mav McNeely, who is everybody's favorite pick this week. Justin Rose, who has absolutely turned it around. You can see statistically in my model, he ranks out as the best golfer according to all the key stats this week. Cam Tringali, who missed his first cut and I don't know how long at the Amex, turned around and put together a very good top 10 performance again at the Farmers. And then another statistical ball striking maven in Seamus Powers. Who are the guys you like here, Rick? Where are you thinking? Well, first, where's ownership showing up? And then how do you see lineup construction going? Do you see people grabbing like a Cantlay or a Berger and then dropping and getting one of these guys? Or do you think people will grab 2 of these and 2 guys in the 8s? Like, where do you think that's all going to flow?
So I think most lineups are going to start off with either Berger or Cantlay up top, and then pick one of these guys from down here, and then drop down to the 7s. I think that's like going to be like the most popular kind of lineup build this week. So if you were to fade the 10K range, if you had the stones to fade Berger and Cantlay and just started here in the 9K, you're going to be a little bit different to begin with. But as far as like overall ownership here, I'm seeing it spread out pretty evenly between Day, McNeely, Rose, Tringali, and Power. Like the top of the range here, 9,400 and 9,900, is spread out pretty evenly amongst those guys. And then it's obvious pivots to the guys right below him: Fitz, Streelman, and Kisner. Those are the single digit ownerships here. Everyone else is like between like 15 to 20% is what I'm seeing. I'm just gonna roll with Mav here. I think I'm gonna eat the chalk with him. He's my pick to win this week. He's gonna be my one and done pick. I think he's going to get it done this week. We already know he's a Pebble Beach boy. He lives on the course. His dad has a house there. He's going to sleep in his childhood bed there. He's going to walk to the first tee from there. I think he's not even to mention the fact that he's been playing outstanding like the last like 2 weeks. So he's my pick to win. I will eat the chalk with him. And I like Streelman too. I mean, the guy, what can we say about him in California, in Pebble Beach? He always plays well. He's the Pro-Am champion with Fitz like 3 years in a row, I think, or something like that.
They're paired back up again this year.
Yeah, paired back up again this year. So I expect him to be in contention on Sunday, just because I think he probably wants to. I like him and Fitzgerald. I think are very serious about winning the Pro-Am part of it. So I think he really concentrates on trying to play well. So I like Streelman. And I like Mav as the chalk, and I also like Fitz in the situation. I know he doesn't have the greatest course history here. He has I think he has 2 miscuts here, but I think he's a good pivot here just because I think the course suits him well. So I like those are my guys here. I mean, I get disgusted thinking about Jason Day and Justin Rose, but it seems like, dude, let me backtrack 1 second. When Jason Day eagled out from the fairway the other day, my heart sank. Like literally, like he hit the ball and I couldn't see it because I was like in the middle of the fairway, and then the crowd just started going nuts. I knew the ball went in, and I was just like, oh my God, Jason Day is gonna fucking win this tournament. And I don't know, somehow he ended up choking it away. But the guy is like literally the slowest player in the world. Like seeing it in real life, it's like tilting to watch. So I can't get there with Day. Although when I look at his course history here, a 7th, a 4th, a 4th, a 2nd, a 5th, like the guy has nothing but like top 5 finishes here, everything besides a win. I can't deny the fact that he's going to be a very popular pick this week and one and done. He's going to be a popular pick on DraftKings for bets and stuff like that. But I'm just going to go with Mav and Fitz and Streelman in this situation.
Yeah, Jason Day, I would say this. What struck me with him was how poorly, how god awful he was from a ball striking perspective. The guy could not hit a fairway. He couldn't hit a green in regulation, but the dude drained every single 25-foot par putt. It was insane to watch the guy get up and down and have these unbelievable putts and make them. And what happened to him is he just ran out of juice. Like he just stopped making those putts, which, statistically it's impossible to keep that pace up all day. So, he got because his ball striking was trash and his putter performed, I don't know, like normal human being putter instead of superhuman Jason Day putter.
Yeah.
So, it was, I had a feeling that he wasn't going to be able to close it out just because he just he couldn't hit a fairway, couldn't hit a green. This week, all of those things like we talked about with Spieth, all of those ball striking woes, it's all mitigated by this course. So that's why he plays so well here. Like you, I think I like Mav McNeely a lot. A little bit is FOMO for me. Like I'm scared I'm going to miss out on Mav McNeely's win. It just feels like everybody's on him this week. And truth be told, I have 3 bets from this area of the board. I like the odds, and like we talked about, you kind of get into guys that are sub 30 or over 100, and that's where the winners have been. We've got a number of guys at that realm. I really like Streelman a lot. I just think there's such a high floor on him, and you're getting him at a little bit of a discount from a guy like Jason Day or Justin Rose, or even Matt McNeely, who are going to be super, super chalky this week. So I like Streelman a lot here. I think the guy that's probably going to get completely overlooked is Kisner. Statistically, he doesn't really rate that well. His course history's okay. His form's okay. But when you think about like what Kevin Kisner does well, like he should play well on all 3 of these courses. He's not a long hitter. He's good with the wedge. He's good around the greens. And when he gets hot with the putter, we see it, once every 3 years he wins. So, this should be a place where he can show up and play well. He just, he's yet to contend at any of the 3 courses that we'll be seeing this week.
Yeah, I just never really ever get to Kisner, to be completely honest with you. I'd rather just go to Fitz or Streelman in that situation. The 2 guys we didn't talk about in this situation are Power and Tringali. Like Power is arguably one of the hottest players on tour. The guy literally like top 15s like every week. And Tringali played great last week. I watched him play with Rahm. I saw him hit shots and in the final group, in the penultimate group on Saturday, and he played good. I mean, he I think he beat Rahm on Saturday by a stroke. So the thing with Tringali is that I don't know, man. The guy never wins. Like he literally has never won a tournament on tour, but he's good enough to win. I can't see any reason why he wouldn't be able to win at a tournament like this, where it's a really weak field and he's, he's and it shows in the odds and the price. I mean, he should be able to win a tournament like this, but I don't know. I just feel like he rates out really well in all the models. Him and Power both. But if I'm going to eat the chalk with somebody here, it's going to be Mav. For me, so I can't really get there with the other 2 guys. And then I've also developed a theory in my head. I know this probably isn't real in real life, but like I really think that like ever since Danielle Kang like kicked Mav McNeely to the curb and she dumped him, like I think they have this like competition going on. Like somehow, like last week, like Danielle Kang lost to Lydia Ko on the LPGA Tour in the final group. So I think Mav McNeely is going to try really hard to win this week and be like, haha, bitch, like I beat you, like I won this week. Like I had this like built up like theory in my head that like Danielle Kang's game like influences Mav McNeely's game.
Yeah, no, that is a weird thing there, but she has closing problems, as does Mav.
Yeah.
But Mav, again, I think he's going to be super chalky. But I was going to say this: there are 2 guys in the field that statistically rate inside the top 35 in like the major metrics. Strokes gained total, tee to green, ball striking. One of those guys is Patrick Cantlay. The other one is Seamus Powers.
Yeah.
Power to me, there's just his game is moving in the right direction. Ever since he got his win, he's been playing phenomenal. I think his strengths are elevated in this type of scenario where you're playing an easy track. And again, I really like Seamus this week. He's going to be one of those cornerstone guys that I'm going to have in all of my lineups. I feel really good about him. And he will also find his way onto my betting card. I could see a scenario where, he just plays really, he's kind of Patrick Cantlay, poor man's version. And so I like him a lot this week from this range. So yeah, for me, it's probably Mav, eat the chalk there, and Seamus and Streelman. Those would be the 3 guys from this area that I'll probably work into lineups.
No love for Fitz whatsoever.
Dude, I hate Fitz. Like I can't stand the guy. It's really hard. I have this bias where if I don't like a guy for whatever reason, I can't put him in my lineup.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about, I have a Justin Rose problem. I did for years. Basically, I could not stay away from him if he was in the lineup. He found his way into every one of my lineups. If he was playing in a tournament, he found his way onto my betting card, and I got off of it. And I'm scared to go back. I made that point last week, even though he's playing very well. But Fitz has never been a guy for me. I don't like his game. I don't like the way he looks. I hate
But
all
I
the
mean, you have to admit though, like as far as like all the other guys in the 9K range, he's probably the best golfer out of all
Oh
those
yeah,
guys. Like
pedigree wise, yeah,
pedigree
I would
wise,
agree with
like he's
that statement.
probably the best. So like I don't know
Other
if he
than
really
Rose, when we talk about long term form, Rose
maybe
and
yeah.
Day long term
Rose and
form, they
Day
may be
long
winners, but
yeah, but like I'm talking about like right now at this moment, like
yeah,
OWGR wise, like I think he's the highest like ranked out of these guys. So like we've
yep.
seen him win multiple times on the European tour. He just hasn't been able to pull off a victory on the PGA tour. So as you'll see when we get to our betting card, he is on my betting card this week. I follow Ben Coley on Twitter. I look at his plays, and that's his like top bet this week. So I kind of tailed him on that. So yeah, we'll see. I don't really know. It's his first time out all year, so we'll see how it goes with Fitz. But my pick to win this week is Matt McNeely.
Yeah, I like McNeely a lot too, and like I said, it's probably more FOMO than anything else that I'm scared I'm going to miss out if he wins this week. So I will definitely be riding the Mav train, at least from a betting perspective. I might have to wait and see how odds, or excuse me, how ownership shapes up, and I'm sure I'll have some of him, but he may find his way into less lineups where I go to a guy like Power or Streelman or Rose, depending on how that ownership shakes out, because I get scared to death thinking about a 22% Mav McNeely. Like that scares me.
Yeah, I understand. All right, let's talk about the eights.
Dropping down into the 8Ks, we've got a baker's dozen of guys here. Well, I guess not really, but there's 11 guys. And some names of guys who have played well. Palmer, like we talked about last week, like he just plays well at Torrey. He played well again. He's John Rahm, poor man's version. And so he's in this field this week. Lanto, Christian Bezadenhout, our boy Frodo Baggins, Brian Harmon, Tom Hoagie, who's been playing great. I hate Brian Harmon's another guy. I hate
What is Frodo Baggins?
He's the guy from Lord of the Rings.
I know who he is, but why is he Brian Harmon?
Because Brian Harmon is like this tall. Like he's like 4'3", and he's lefty, and he just looks like a penis. I can't stand it.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
You got Mac Hughes, our boy Mito Pereira, Denny McCarthy, who is Mav McNeely light. I don't know. McCarthy, a guy who leads the tour in putting. Charlie Hoffman, who's been withdrawing from every single tournament. I'm surprised he hasn't withdrawn from this one. And then our boy Matt Jones, who played well at the Tournament of Champions here a few weeks ago. He's an Aussie. Again, from a course fit, what he does well perspective, he should rate out well, and his course history is decent. But do you think that this area gets skipped altogether because so many people will be playing folks from the 9K?
Yeah, I think so. It seems like everyone is gravitating towards just one name here, and it's Lanto Griffin. So he's the only one that I'm seeing as double-digit ownership in this range. Everyone else is single-digit ownership. So yeah, I think if anybody is going to this range, it looks like it's predominantly Lanto. Chalky Lanto, I'll easily fade that, and I'll go to some other guys in this range.
Yeah, Lanto's interesting because obviously he played well at the Farmers. He played pretty good at the Amex. And his ball striking has been much better since basically midway through the RSM Classic back in November. He's been gaining from a ball striking perspective week over week. He's been putting fairly well. I think he lost like in the RSM in one round, he lost like 6 strokes putting, but since then he's been gaining. He did lose a little bit the Farmers in one of the rounds, but he has been playing well, and I think people have seen that. He's obviously a name that folks know. He's a tour winner. He's won before, so he rates out really well in all the statistical categories, so I can see why that could happen. I mean, to me, when I think about skill set, Bezadenhout's the guy that I think probably fits the course better than anybody else. I don't think anybody's talking about him because he doesn't really have any course history to speak of here. His form's good. Statistically, he rates out really well. if the guy had like Kurt Kitayama does, if he had like a top 20 finish, I think a lot more people would be on Bezuidenhout this week.
Yeah. So I've been playing DraftKings for a long time now, and I think over the last year and a half, I don't think I've ever clicked on Christian Bezuidenhout's name, and I think I've clicked on Mito Pereira's name every single week that he's played. So you know where I lean in this situation. I go to Mito over Seabass, but I get the Seabass love. It's people love getting there because they fall in love with this putter. The guy's an immaculate putter. We get that. But this is, of course, even though it kind of counteracts my argument playing Mito, I just have a love for Mito. But this is a course where you need to have some good course history to be able to play. And this is Mito's first time too. So if I'm going to pick between the two guys one guy I love, one guy I never get to with the no course history, I'm going to go with Mito in that situation.
Yeah, no, I tend to lean the same way. You and I have a similar philosophy with guys. We want ball strikers, right? We want guys we know can hit fairways and hit greens, and we just hope for that peak putting week where the guy drains every single 10-footer. And that's how you win on tour. We saw it with, Luke List here. He hits the 11-footer on 18 to force a playoff, and then he stuffs one to like 3 inches in the playoff. And that's what you can rely on with guys who have such good ball striking. That is not Bezuidenhout. Bezuidenhout is a strokes gained short game guy. Like, he is a wizard in and around the greens. I think he ranks out over the last 50 rounds in this field as the number one guy in strokes gained short game. So again, when you talk about other guys like that, I think of Jason Day, and
he's like Jason Day light.
Yeah, and so if those guys play well at this course, it seems like Bezuidenhout could and should play well. But we've yet to see it. But like you, I'll be on Mito. I really like Denny McCarthy this week again too. His course history is freaking terrible. But again, like I just, when I think about what McCarthy does well, we should have a good course fit here. And so for me, those are probably the three guys in this range. Because of lineup construction, I don't think I'm going to be able to fit very many of these guys in. So Mito will probably be the most heavily owned guy I have, and he's going to be the one that garners the most ownership from this area. But I was going to ask you, what do you think of Hoagie and Hughes? Hoagie, who's been playing really, really well, and Matt Hughes, again, course fit.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go to Hoagie. I know Feinberg touted him this week. He bet him, so I'm definitely going to roll with some Hoagie this week. Is it Hogue or Hoagie? I never really know.
I don't know. I call him Hoagie, but it's probably Tom Hogue.
Yeah, Tom Hogue. Okay, so I'll roll with Tom and Hogue and Mito in this range. I don't really have a stance on Mac Hughes. It's all about how luck-sack he is with the putter. I mean, if he's going to make 100-foot putt every round, then he's going to be in contention. If he's not, then he's not. So whatever with him. But yeah, I'll roll with Hoagie and Mito in this range. And I personally have a soft spot for Charlie Hoffman. I don't know like what's going on with him exactly. Like, he's literally entering every tournament and then withdrawing on like Monday or Tuesday with like a back injury or something like that. But he was in my winning lineup last year, so I have a soft spot for him. So if he actually does not withdraw from the tournament, I'll have a couple like shares on him just because he did finish. What did he finish? He finished 7th place here last year, so he has good history at this course. This course suits him well for what he does well, which is ball striking, tee to green, and stuff like that. So I'll play Charlie if he actually is there. I'm not going to go overweight on him or anything like that. So if I'm playing like 150 lineups, he'll be in like 5 of them if he actually tees it up this week. But obviously we need to see him tee it up, play 4 rounds, and get some stats and get some rounds under his belt before we can actually like go back to him and talk about the old Charlie Hoffman. So we'll see how his injury plays out. So for me, the main guys here are Hogue and Mito Pereira.
Yeah, for me, it's Mito and Bezuidenhout. Just from an ownership perspective, Matt Jones. I mean, the guy goes nuclear hot sometimes. Again, we're used to seeing Matt Jones at like low 7s, high 6s, but this field is trash.
Yeah,
Danny McCarthy at $8,200. But Matt Jones, like, again, short game on the greens, around the greens, like, that's his jam, and he does pretty damn good on POA. Like, why not Matt Jones?
I'll get to Matt Jones. For some reason I like Matt Jones in windy conditions. So like if I see the weather changing a little bit and it's going to get a little windier throughout the week or something like that, then I will probably have some shares of Matt Jones. But I just straight up playing at $8,000 Matt Jones just seems dumb. I don't know.
Makes you gag a little bit in your mouth. Like,
yeah, it hurts a little bit.
All right, dropping down into the 7Ks, we've got a number of names here. Some names that are going to be familiar from what we saw last week, some guys who have immaculate course history, and then a number of young guys, right? The 6 and 7s are kind of peppered with Corn Ferry guys, guys trying to earn their tour cards, keep their status, those kinds of things. But at the top of the board, Michael Thompson played well at the Farmers. He's got a pretty good track record in California. Your boy, your Indian brother, Aaron Rai, who on again, off again down the stretch of the Farmers, played really, really well. Another ball striking freak. And then to kind of round out the top guys, Russell Knox, great course history, immaculate course fit statistically. His form has been meh for the better part of probably the last 2 years. But who do you like in the upper sevens, 7,500 and above? And then who are the guys that you like kind of in the lower sevens as we look to kind of fill out lineups? If we're going to be going 10K, 9K, we're going to have to grab a few guys from this price range.
Yeah, so as far as 7,500 and above, the chalk surprisingly right now is Matt Kuchar. So chalky Matt Kuchar, I'm not going to get there, unfortunately. But other than him, the only other person I'm seeing with double-digit ownership is Russell Knox. It seems like he's turning into like a little popular name this week. So I mean, obviously between those two, I prefer Knox. I actually like all these guys, to be completely honest with you. That's in the upper sevens. Michael Thompson has been playing great. Aaron Rai has been playing great. Knox has good course history. Lucas Glover fits this course perfectly. Chris Kirk fits this course perfectly. Min Woo Lee, the guy is literally the 50th ranked player in the world or something like that, in the high sevens. So you can't really, you could take a stab with him. So I like all these guys. Joel Damon, we see him good at seaside courses, at oceanside courses. So all these guys I like. I can't get there with Matt Kuchar, obviously. If I was going to pick my favorite play from the high sevens, probably I'm going to go ahead and just say Lucas Glover, because he's coming at single-digit ownership. I feel like this is a course that suits him really well. So I do like Lucas Glover here. Dropping down into the low sevens, ownership-wise, the only person that's coming in chalky right now is Tigala. I will eat the chalk with him. That's my boy. He gave me a fist bump last week. Love the guy, my Indian brother. So he is playing immaculate golf right now. He loves California golf. He is from California. So I will eat the chalk with Tigala. The other person that's coming in highly owned is Neesmith. So between the two guys, I prefer is Tigala. And the other name that we could go to here for me would be Pat Perez and Alex Smalley. Those are the only other two guys in the low sevens that I really like.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned it off the jump, but basically from 7,500 all the way to 79, like every one of those guys I'm interested in. Putnam, Dahlman, Mitchell, Champ, Kuchar. Like those guys are all interesting to me. And Kuchar, of probably all of the guys, is the least that I'm attracted to in terms of trying to put him in the lineups. Even when Matt Kuchar was playing like, I guess, vintage Matt Kuchar, this new version of him, which is god awful. But when he was playing well, he was doing okay here. He was making cuts, but he really wasn't doing anything. But there's a number of guys that just have very, very good course history in this range. And then that fit statistically, how they fit with where they perform in their game. There's a lot of guys that check a lot of boxes. And then for me, Cam Champ, he's just one of those guys where it's like, I'm betting that peak Cam Champ is at an elite status and so much better than everybody else in this range that if he can play close to that he's going to contend. And especially we've seen, I think his wins have come at shorter courses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where he can club down because he absolutely mashes the ball off of the tee. And all of a sudden now, you give him a bunch of shorter 350 to 400 yard par fours in a tournament. That's an ideal situation for a guy like Cam Champ. The guys for me in this range, I'm as much as I hate to say it, I may be eating the chalk with Russell Knox. He plays well here. I think he's played his last four. He's made 3 of his last 4 cuts here, and those have been top 20 and top 10 finishes. I like Glover a lot, like you here, and then I like Aaron Rai. Like again, we're talking about a guy who comes from the European Tour, much like Min Woo Lee. He's got a pedigree. He's a proven winner there. We just saw him compete in a big boy tournament, and he was in the final group competing with Will Zalatoris and Jason Day, and he played well. Obviously, he didn't win, but he played very, very well. And if you look at how he's come into this, he's made 4 out of his last 5 cuts on the PGA Tour. He has 3 top 25 finishes. He's got one of those as a top 10 finish in last week. Like, why not Aaron Rai? Like that seems like a no-brainer, especially at 7,900. You're getting a guy who is a top 50 golfer in the world at $7,900.
Yeah, but I mean, he wears 2 gloves and has iron covers.
Yeah, that's all anybody wanted to talk about. Could the broadcast like stop talking about that?
Yeah, no, seriously.
Like
Who
I
cares?
just yeah, again, the 2 gloves are troubling. Like, it's tough to watch a professional golfer go out there with 2 gloves, and then to
I
hear that
mean,
he
it
has iron
works.
head covers, it's
It
like,
works.
oh my god, like because we all have that buddy that has iron head covers, and you're like, dude, like, what are you, a 75-year-old man? Why do you have iron head covers? Like,
Well,
this is
I
the
mean,
last set of golf clubs you're ever going to own for the rest of your life. You're going to pass them on to your kids when you die. Like, take the covers off of your irons.
the story behind it is wholesome, like why he had
Oh,
iron covers when
100%.
he was young. But like the dude gets free clubs now. Like, why does he have iron covers now? Like,
Yeah,
get over
exactly.
it.
It's not like he can be like, "Oh, I scuffed my sandwich. Let me have another one, Callaway."
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
whatever. Again, golfers are quirky animals by nature, right? They're
Yeah.
creatures of habit, and
Mhm.
so I get it. The other guy I like in this range, and he's just below this group that I talked about, is Ches Reavie. I realize like
Ugh.
he's been trash. He's missed 2 cuts
Ugh.
in a row,
No.
um, but he was a top 30 finish at the RSM, which is a comp style in terms of what you need to do. And the guy's played well here over the years. He's made his last 4 cuts in a row here. He hasn't finished outside the top 40. And so I'm hoping that I get high floor, low ceiling Ches Reavie in this thing. And then I love Neesmith. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to be super chalky on a guy at $7,300. Like, everything sets up. I could see him winning this tournament, which is why he'll probably end up on my betting card. But I think I may have to fade him from a DraftKings perspective, because whenever I see a guy below $7,500 that's just coming in super chalky, like that it gives me heartburn. I can't get there.
Yeah, I can't get that with Neesmith either. I'd rather eat the chalk with Tagala here in the situation. But I'm
Yeah.
just gonna rattle off a couple more names for you. Just tell me what you think. 4 out of the last 5 made cuts, including a win and a 10th place finish. Nick Taylor, pretty good history here. I could see
I
that.
get it.
What's that?
I said, I get it. If ownership's not bad, like if everybody's going to
Yeah,
Neesmith and not playing Nick Taylor, like why
yeah,
not Nick Taylor? To your point, he's made
yeah.
3 cuts in a row. To your point, he's got great course history. Like, because you don't like Nick Taylor, like Nick Taylor
Yeah.
makes all the sense in the world.
The other guy that I really like, he's on my betting card, is Scott Stallings at this course. He has really good course history here. This seems like one of those tournaments where he always pops up and earns his paycheck every year. So
Yep.
I definitely like Scott Stallings. And then these new guys, I mean, Pendrith, Grayson Sigg, Hayden Buckley. These guys, I know these guys have no course history here. I know these guys aren't household names. So for you guys out there listening, if you want to gain a little bit of an edge on a young guy that's a Korn Ferry graduate, you can go to these guys. Pendrith played absolutely wonderful last week. Hayden Buckley has been playing pretty good. Grayson Sigg is a popular name this week. So these are the guys you can go to in the low sevens. Obviously, Tagala is my main guy here, but I can see if you like, when you're entering a tournament, you have to know that like 85% of the people that you're playing in a big tournament with, they're going to look at these names and they're going to click on like the classic names like Pat Perez and Brant Snedeker and Scott Stallings, like to a point. They're not going to Scott Piercy, like they're going to click on names that they know. They're not going to click on these names that you have no idea who they are, like Grayson Sigg and Hayden Buckley. So you might gain a little bit of an ownership advantage if you play these guys and they happen to hit. And we've seen this tournament, like we said before, like triple digit winners win at this tournament. So why can't one of these guys just play good at this tournament and win? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the other guys that I like, and I completely agree with every point that you made there. I think it's important to know that these Korn Ferry guys, like, they're not the guys that were coming out 5-6 years ago where they would bounce around, they get some starts, and then they end up back in development school. Like, these Korn Ferry guys are coming out ready to win.
Ready to win,
And
yeah.
yeah, and so it makes all the sense in the world. I love Stallings like you this week. The other guy that I like, Korn Ferry guy, got his first victory here last week, has very good course history.
Brandon
Brian
Harkins.
Harkins, like Harkins is another guy. And then my boy, Boise State alum, Troy Merritt always plays well at this course. He's made 3 out of his last 4 cuts. He's got a top 10 in there. He's got 2 top 25s. I like T Merritt a lot this week here for the price range, and I think he's a great pivot because I do like Tagala as well as you, but they're priced the same, and I think you're going to get him at a quarter of the ownership that Tagala is going to come in at.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Talk to me. Do you have any interest in Vaughn Taylor?
I mean, Vaughn Taylor's long-term course history is very good here. His last 5 years haven't been great.
No, I mean, he made the cut last year, finished 21st, and then he had a bunch of miscuts before that. But he's won at this course, I think, twice, maybe. Like the guy has immaculate course history here.
Yeah, his long-term course history is great. I mean, here's the thing with Vaughn Taylor is you just got to hope that he plays like Vaughn Taylor at the courses that he plays well. And this is a Vaughn Taylor track.
Yeah.
So, the only thing with me is there's a couple other names in that area where I think, you might get a little more upside. Like you're getting a made cut probably with Vaughn Taylor. And I say probably. It's not, there's not a whole lot of like stability there. But there's other guys for $100 more, like Scott Piercy, who's made 5 straight cuts here with 3 top 20s and a top 10. Guys like Kyle Stanley, who again, if the guy could make one putt, like he would be phenomenal because statistically he is off the charts. Wyndham Clark, who's played well. David Lipsky, another Euro guy playing out here. Matthias Schwab for $100 more, another high-end Euro guy that no one's going to play because they don't know who he is. Schwab's a stud. I mean, they were talking about Schwab on the Ryder Cup. Earlier in the year. So there's some good names here. And for me, I think I'd be more apt to take a risk on a higher upside guy than to go to someone like Vaughn Taylor, unless I'm I got $7K left and I just want a guy that makes the cut. Vaughn Taylor's probably the better guy in that scenario.
Yeah. I mean, peak Matthias Schwab is going to win this tournament. Peak Vaughn Taylor is going to get top 10 maybe. That's what you're facing in this situation. Even somebody like Joseph Branlett, who everyone was on last week, he was a very popular play last week at Torrey. I like him again this week. He made the cut. He didn't do much after he made the cut last week, but Joseph Bramlett's a guy that's been in good form recently. Why not him?
Yeah, no, Bramlett's good, dude. I totally get it. He's one of those guys, again, mashes the ball off the tee. And he's just a ball striking freak. And if the guy can make some putts, he shows up. You know what I mean? I think he contended what was the PGA or the US Open. He was there down the stretch. So he has that high level upside. And so for me, to your point, I'd rather bet on the upside and hope that he plays to that level.
All right, let's get in the dumpster.
We go diving into the dumpster below $7,000. There's a crap ton of names, and I put the emphasis on crap in this area, but there are some jewels and there are some guys. And like I talked about kind of on the jump about course history going into this week, but then the California swing in general, there are some guys that have very good course history down here that have flashed, or guys who have made numerous cuts. So for me, when I get down in the 6K area, that's where I'm going to lean. I'm going to lean on guys that have some course history, kind of like we talked about with Vaughn Taylor. If Vaughn Taylor was 6,600, he'd probably find his way into 25-30% of my lineups. But because he's at 7K and, there's what I think are better options, I'm probably going to go there. But down in here, some names that I kind of like. I mean, I like Kevin Chappell here. He had a top 20 finish here last year. Statistically, he rates out okay, not great. John Hull withdrew. Not that I was going to play him, but I thought it was worth mentioning because I saw that he withdrew from the tournament. Mark Hubbard's a guy that, for whatever reasons, catching some steam this week. Statistically, rates out very, very well. He's going to end up inside the top 20 in my model for all the key stats. But I don't know, man. There's not a lot to get excited about here. And for me, with the builds that I'm probably going to end up doing this week from a DraftKings perspective, I'm probably going to end up going a little more balanced. I may even try and fade the 10K guys. And so I'm going to try to, I guess, decrease my exposure down in here. But another name just to throw at you, a guy that, has a decent course history, played well last week, is Peter Malnati. He's down here at $6,800. I like Malnati. He's a guy that I rotate in and out of my lineups from time to time. Another one that's at least worth mentioning, just because long-term pedigree, and we've been seeing him play a little bit better here over the last couple months, and that's Jimmy Walker. Walker's down here. Brian Gay's got great course history. I mean, one of the better course histories of anybody in this tournament. And then the other guy that I like, we talked about a number of like Euro guys, Kurt Kitayama. He's a winner on the European Tour. He's got high upside. So I like Kurt Kitayama like at $6,400. But other than that, man, there's probably way more bets here than there are DraftKings plays. What about your boy Barjon? Like everybody's all hard up on Piercy this week, and I get it. Like Cam Percy's going to be like the most owned guy below $7,000, but like everybody was all hardo on Barjon, and he missed a cut, and everybody's like, that guy sucks. I'm never playing him again.
Yeah, why not? Let's go back to him. I mean, he's still priced in the 6Ks. He's still triple digits on the betting board, 300 to 1. Like I said before, like a couple weeks ago, in a shitty field like this, he should not be 300 to 1. He should be like closer to like 100 to 1. So he's not on my betting card right now, but I'll probably sprinkle a little bit on him, before the tournament. The guys that I like in the 6K range, I like me some Kadira. I know he's not the greatest golfer in the world, but we do see
course
some
fit. Course
fit's good. We do see some peak Kadira weeks sometimes, and he comes through for us. I think my favorite play in the 6K range is going to be. I just had him teed up. Who was it? It was. I lost it. Sorry.
No worries.
Austin Smotherman. Sorry, I don't know why I lost him.
Austin Smotherman, what a name,
dude! The guy played really good last week. He finished 11th at Torrey. He hit the crap out of the ball. I believe he's an Oklahoma State guy. I'm not sure, but he's a good golfer. So definitely give a look out to Austin Smotherman. But yeah, I like him. I like Kadira. I like Austin Eckroat, who's another rookie playing in his first time here. Brian Stewart has good course history here. Bronson Burgoon has good course history here. Chappell, I never get to Kevin Chappell, so I mean, I guess whatever. Jimmy Walker, like you said, and then Cam Percy. I mean, like you just said, he's going to be probably the most popular guy down here. The guy is literally an iron machine, like tee to green wise. He's great. Just can't putt. He putts like me. So he's a really terrible putter. So there's not much to like down here. You don't have to go. If you can avoid this range, that would be good. But I mean, it's just your pick of the litter here. Ted Potter Jr., former winner here, but after that, 3 straight missed cuts. Brandon Wu's a Californian guy. I don't really know if you want to play him. Brian Gay, 4 straight made cuts. So if you're going to play Brian Gay one week, this is the week to play him when it's a short course.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't have to rely on his driver too much to get him there. In the low 6s, I don't really have any names. Do you? I mean, I really could not answer. Like, I couldn't play any of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned, Kitayama at 6,400 and Gay at 6,400 are probably the only 2 names that I would look at.
Yeah.
Chris Stroud, he's kind of Chris Kirk light. Chris Stroud's down here, has decent course history, made 2 out of 4 cuts here with a top 10. So yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to love. But again, if I'm probably leaning towards one metric over another down here, it's going to be like guys with any type of course history. If I can find a guy who's, made, 2 out of 3 cuts, or a guy who's got a couple top 25 finishes sprinkled in with a couple missed cuts over the last 5 years, like that's probably where I'm going to end up. But it's difficult. You're best to avoid being here. And the only reason that you should be down this low on the board is if you decided to stuff, Cantlay and Berger into a lineup together, then you're going to have to go here. The only other guy that I would throw out the only 2 guys that I would throw out, one of them has terrible course history and is playing like trash, but we saw him flash a couple times last year. It's a name, Richie Rowinski. And then Sung Kang, just randomly shows up and just wins a tournament every now and then.
Yeah.
And so he's down here at I think at like $6,300. So those would be 2. Nick Watney, Watney course fit, he's missed 3 straight cuts here, but he does have decent history prior to that. So, again, we're naming names at this point in time. But Yeah, I would say the other one maybe to take a shot at, you talk about one of those young guys, would be Max McGreevy. McGreevy, up until the California swing, he had been playing really well, had 2 top 20 finishes at the Houston and at the RSM Classic. And he's a guy he's made 2 out of his last 3 cuts here with or excuse me, I'm looking at Stroud. He's never played here before, but
Yeah.
statistically, from the key distances, proximity from 100 to 125 and from 125 to 150, he ranks inside the top 10 and top 20 in both of those metrics. So Max McGreevy, again, if you're
What
drawing straws and looking for a reason, maybe I gave you one.
What about your boy Grayson Murray?
No Grayson Murray for me. Like he's got to go back to him, and Scott Piercy can go back to their QAnon classes and figure out who they want to vote for next year.
They can go play golf with Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's your jam. Go play golf with Donald Trump. I mean, Mike, our producer, he voted for him both times. So hey,
you saw a couple weeks ago when Kevin Na ended him on Twitter, right?
Oh, dude, that was it was. It kind of felt bad because it's like I guess the analogy would be like, if you do something funny and like the kid that rides the short bus to school cracks a joke and everybody laughs at you, and then you just end the kid that rides the short bus.
Exactly.
It's like, dude, come on, like you really need to like say that about him. Like it's unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean the guy's a I don't know, he's like a recovering alcoholic that can't make a cut. Like, I mean, yeah. So I mean, I'm not gonna play Grayson Murray this week. He's not gonna get an ounce of my money. But yeah, I mean, these are just names down here. I would lean more towards the young guys, like I said, Eckroat and Smotherman and Dylan Wu. Like these are guys that you can play. But I do like Kadira down here, and I could see a little bit of James Hahn also. Nate Lashley finished 5th here last year, but he's been playing terrible recently. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to go there. So I mean, just pick your names down here. But the bigger, you got to hit with the names up top, and hopefully you guys can hit those guys down here to round out your lineups.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rye was that guy last week, so again, much better player than any of these guys are. But those are the names that help you win and take down big tournaments on DraftKings. So it's not to be ignored, but there's a certain amount of luck that goes along with playing guys down at these lower price points. Getting into the bets for this week, before I transition to that, all of the stats that we've been talking about and covering, we get those from Fantasy National. We put together a spreadsheet that is available. It's free. If any of you guys want it, you can reach out to Rick or I on Twitter. Our handles, I'm sure producer Mike, I'm sure you've got them up there for people to see, but you can reach out to us, direct message us. We're happy to share those. There's a couple guys that are now tuned into the show and watching for the first time that received those. They reached out. We sent them copies of it. So please feel free to take a look at our statistical models and how we rate each of the golfers in the field. And we're happy to share any of that information from you, because ultimately, at least for me, I use that to help me hone in not only on my DraftKings lineups, but also on my bets. And speaking of bets this week, I've got a massive card, Rick. Not massive from an investment standpoint, but dude, I got a lot of guys on my card. And again, I'm all over the damn place. One of them, Mito, is FOMO. There's a couple guys. It's Mito and Sebastian Munoz. If they're in a tournament, I'm betting on them. That's what it is for me, because I'm just waiting for them to win. I end up hitting Sebastian Munoz like every other year at like 110 to 1, and he pays for himself. So I continue to bet him. But for me this week, I like Mav McNeely like you. I can't believe I'm going back to Justin Rose, but I'm going back to Justin Rose. Seamus Powers, who I believe wholeheartedly has a legitimate chance to win the tournament. And then the other guy, other than Mito, is Spieth. And the only reason I'm playing Spieth is really because this is where he kind of turned it around last year. It's a super comfortable place for him. And if you're telling me I can get Jordan Spieth at the same odds as Mav McNeely, I just think that number's wrong. So I will be all in on those guys from my major bets. And then I've got a bunch of bombs. I will be sprinkling, and I use that term lightly. Some of these bets I may only have $5 on, but I will have money on every one of these guys: McCarthy, Merritt, Knox, Tagala, Sneds. We've seen, like we talked about numerous times on the show, where the winners are coming from the top of the betting board and from way down the board. So I'm going to have stuff like chicken feed just thrown all over the yard down here at guys above 100 to 1. The only other guy that I have lower than 100 to 1 is Denny McCarthy, and I'm just hoping I get the Denny McCarthy that drains every single putt and he has a chance to win. And then, I kind of have Streelman sitting there. I'm kind of waiting to see what happens with his number. I don't really like it right now. And I may not go to him, but I'm going to keep an eye on that number. Who do you like this week?
All right. So my betting card goes like this. I have Mav McNeely, who I have the biggest bet on this week. That is my number one play. So most units on Mav McNeely at 22. I like Fitz at 33, Mito, FOMO bet just like you at 40, Streelman. I'm in on Streelman this week at 40, and Tom Hogue at 55. Those are my major unit plays. And then my sprinkles are going to be Tagala at 100, Stallings at 100, and then Grayson Sig at 125. And then 4 guys at 150 to 1, Austin Smotherman, Satoshi Kodaira, Austin Eckroat, and Hayden Buckley.
You like, I swear, Buckley's on your card like every week. Like you continue to play that guy. What is it with Hayden Buckley that you like so much about him?
Can't get away from him. He's a good player.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Did he make the cut last week?
No, he did not make the cut last week.
No, he did not. Okay. Well, I'm not going to hold that against you.
Hey, it's just a sprinkle at 150 to 1. Come on.
So here's a legitimate question. Better collegiate golf program, Okie State or Alabama? Because I feel like every guy that is coming out on the Korn Ferry Tour and then getting starts on the PGA Tour is either from Okie State or from Alabama.
I feel like, all right, so I feel like Oklahoma State is a better program for producing like middle of the road golfers. I don't know who's from Alabama, like besides Justin Thomas.
Thomas, I think, isn't Mav McNeely from Alabama? I swear Buckley's from Alabama. There's a bunch of Georgia guys that get mixed in with that, but I feel like there's a number of guys.
I mean, I don't know. Okay, so like I was actually listening to Rick Gaiman's podcast, and they were actually talking about this, and they said that like Oklahoma State produces like these middle of the road like road guys like Ricky Fowler and Charles Howell. Like the best guy they've produced in the last few years is Vic Hovland, and then you have a program like Arizona State, who has produced like Phil Mickelson and John Rahm, who are like number one golfers in the world, like Hall of Fame golfers. So like at the end of the day, you would obviously like in college, you would like to have that Oklahoma State program because they are unstoppable in college when you have a team like Austin Eckroat and Vic Hovland and Matthew Wolff together like on the same team. Like,
Henrik Norlander, I think, is an Okie State Cowboy as well too.
Yeah. So like this group of guys like is unstoppable in college, but are they translating like to the Rahm, Phil Mickelson types that Arizona State has produced? I don't know. Maybe not. I guess time will tell. But for right now, like the best guy they've produced is Vic Hovland, and everyone else is kind of middle of the road. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they just, it seems like every guy that's coming out now, I swear they're from Okie State. Like, it's like, oh yeah, Oklahoma State. So
no, they are. I mean, like we just talked about Eckroat, Charles Howell in the past, Ricky Fowler in the past, Taylor Gooch. Taylor Gooch was on that team. Yeah. So I mean, the team is outstanding. I don't know. I don't know too much about college golf, like to make a statement about that, but obviously they're doing something right there.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't know what it is about Okie State, but obviously they know how to get golfers because they're coming from all over the place. But anyways.
But I would like to say that this is probably the worst viewing experience for a golf tournament.
It's god-awful.
It's brutal to watch. The only thing that gets you through this tournament is the fact that you have money on it in DraftKings or bets or whatever. But watching Clint Eastwood talk on air for
the corpse of Clint Eastwood that they roll out every single year, and it's the most painful 5 minutes on the broadcast.
Yeah, for like 15 minutes, Clint Eastwood is going to sit there and analyze Larry the Cable Guy swing. I just can't get there, man. It's so annoying to watch. Like, I'd rather just go play golf and just follow it on my phone. But whatever. I mean, it is what it is. We watch golf every week, no matter how bad the field is, no matter how bad the tournament is. But I just wish they would improve this tournament a little bit. Like last year when they had no amateurs and it was just the pros playing, it was a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, from a viewing perspective, fans' perspective, you're right. I mean, I get it. It's kind of the heritage of the course and obviously all of the famous people that play in this tournament, famous people. It's a big deal for them. I did find it kind of funny. There's some marquee groups. My favorite group probably of mixed of PGA Tour stars and famous people, Daniel Berger and Lanto Griffin with Macklemore and Schoolboy Q, two rappers. Daniel Berger and Lanto Griffin. That just seems like it'd be a really fun group to go
That's
around
funny.
with
Yeah.
for 4 days. The other one I liked, obviously, Strowman plays with Fitz. That's every year. But Josh Allen is the other star in that group, Buffalo quarterback. So
he's playing with Keith Mitchell, right?
yeah, with Keith Mitchell. That would be another fun one to follow around. Keith Mitchell and Josh Allen, like two big old white dudes, funny, young.
Yeah.
Like, that would be a cool group to follow around.
I feel like the guys that play like football and are athletes, I feel like they take this tournament really seriously, like Larry Fitzgerald,
Oh,
Josh Allen.
100%.
I don't like the guys like Bill Murray and Larry the Cable Guy who like can't play golf and they just are there for entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
I don't like those guys. Like if it was like more like guys that were like more serious about it, like I'd be more interested about it. But Carlton, Alfonso Ribeiro, like he's just there for a laugh, man. I mean, whatever.
He's a pretty good stick, though. I've heard. Like I don't think Timberlake's here this year. Usually Justin Timberlake, he's like a in and out guy on this tournament because he also has his own celebrity one. But yeah, the celebrity factor, it's not what it was 5-10 years ago. And obviously coming out of COVID, there's still a lot of people that don't feel really comfortable doing those kinds of things yet.
Yeah.
As I'm scanning through the names, because the PGA Tour Communications posted them today, like all the star and pro pairings, there's kind of a lot to be left desired, and mostly because the stars, there's just not a lot of them. But like Canelo Alvarez is playing. I mentioned the rappers that are in it. Bill Murray, who's playing with Bill Murray? Hold on,
DA Points. Yeah, he won the tournament a few years ago.
Yeah, DA Points and Chris Stroud are the pros playing with Bill Murray, which is gonna be painful.
Real quick, before we wrap up, I know Mike's got to go, but you have any thoughts about the Saudi Arabia tournament? I mean, that's where all the big names are this week. I didn't make any bets in the tournament. I might lay down a couple shekels on a couple of the names out there, but I mean, they're obviously playing there for the appearance fee. They're getting millions of dollars to go there and play. I'm not a huge fan of it. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of the country in general. So like they're just like throwing money at these guys to go play, which takes away their ability to play at Pebble Beach. It doesn't sit well with me personally, but I get it. They would need to go make their money.
Yep.
But I mean, do you have any bets there? Do you have any thoughts about the tournament? Anything like that?
The only bet that I placed when the books opened, I hit Tony Finau at 25-1. Course fit wise, the other one that I hit, that I actually have two. I have Finau and Neiman. Neiman, he opened at 40. I've seen him as low as like 20 now, but those are the only two that I hit. I just don't know really a lot about the course overall. When I say course fit, it's what I'm hearing from other folks talk about, skill sets and what you want to do. But to your point, like all the big names are there, Bryson and DJ and Xander and just everybody that you would want. But I swear everyone's priced at like 20-1 or under. So the odds are garbage. Like Sergio Garcia is 16-1. It's like, how is Cam Smith is 11-1?
I'd rather bet Phil. I'd rather bet Phil at 150-1.
Yeah. I mean, you've got like Johnny Vegas, then you've got like real deal Euro guy like Sam Horsfield at 40-1, Patrick Reed at 40-1, Wolf at 60. So there's some pretty good names. There's also some surprising names to me. Like, how the hell did Harold Varner get into this field? Like, of all the people, like, I get it, he's playing better, but like, how did Harold Varner get into the Saudi International?
I don't know. Pulled some strings. Got to get some money. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what to say about that. But I don't really have much to say about that tournament. I'm not a huge fan of that tournament. I know DJ's the defending champion. He's probably going to win again, to be completely honest with you. But I don't really have any thoughts about it. Yeah, I wish they would get rid of it.
I'll probably throw a couple of shekels on our boy Jazz. He's at like 250-1. Jazz Janawatananan.
Yeah, I like him.
But that's about it. Yeah, like I said, I have Finau and Neiman, and that's all I have over there. I won't be playing any DraftKings for it, but I'll have probably those two bets, and maybe I'll throw something on Jazz.
Cool. All right, man.
Well, Rick, appreciate it always. Mike, thank you again, man. For all of you watching this now or later, thank you for watching. If you guys need anything from us, want to hear more, get any of the information that we've shared, including the model, reach out to us on Twitter, hit us on the DMs. We'll be happy to send that off to you. Appreciate it, guys, and we will see you next week. Good luck and take down a tournament. Thank you.
Good luck, guys.